Good afternoon, YouTube, and welcome back to Phatkat Collections. Got another brand for you guys today. This is by Hartley Watches, and this watch actually came, I believe, from Australia. That's where the shipping label said. So I most likely these watches are not made in Australia, but I don't really know, to be honest with you. So I'm going to just kind of do a basic unboxing, show you guys what you get, and see what my thoughts are on this watch. So again, the brand is Hartley. Super nice presentation right off the bat. We have sort of like this cardboard box. It's got sort of like a wood grain and the name Hartley. I like the name, not too bad. You know, a lot of times, a lot of these, and I'm not saying this is a Chinese company, but I do suspect these watches are made in some Asian country. That's just how that's what you have to do to be competitive nowadays. And the modern machining and quality we're getting out of places like China are unbelievable. Don't let anybody tell you differently. But I do, a lot of times with those brands, you know, like I remember when I reviewed a Neymar watch. Not the best name, right? People get confused with the, I believe, a soccer player. So Hartley's not bad, you know. And this is more of like a dress watch. This isn't really a dive watch. So I like that they just kind of kept the name sort of, I'm not going to say it kind of relates to a dress. Like Hartley doesn't really have any kind of real meaning. But it's a name that just kind of, to me, when I think about it, it's like, okay, it's got to be a dress watch, right? Like, I don't think of dive watch when I think of, like, Citizen. Even though all these watches are water resistant, I don't know, just my 2 cents. So, nice presentation. A beautiful box on this. I mean, when you open this up, we get, of course, actually, the manual's not on top of the box. I already opened this up. We get the manual. And then I did unwrap this already. It did come with this really nice, let me show you. This is like sort of a microfiber, I guess, cover with the brand name on it, Hartley, that was just sort of covering the piano gloss black box. These boxes kind of remind me of, if you've seen my videos I've done on Duxo, they do like a gloss, high gloss red. I like the black, super classy, very nice presentation. I always kind of think about receiving a watch as a gift, especially if you're not a watch collector. You know, we get desensitized over the years. We've seen so many presentations. You think about the person who maybe hasn't only opened a few watches, right? So pretty nice. And it has a nice push button right here as well. So they definitely put a little more into their boxes than a lot of brands. Hit the push button, open it up, and we have a faux leather kind of tan interior, which is really nice. I like that they didn't just do black. It's a beautiful looking box. You really can't go wrong with this presentation. As far as, now you guys know, I don't really get too involved in the boxes, because these things just end up going into storage for the most part. This is kind of handy, though. At least they didn't use, they used a material you could use this as like, I don't know, a polishing cloth. It's sort of like a, I believe it's it almost feels like a silky microfiber. But, you know, I mean, you can kind of cut this up and use this. For now, we're just going to throw it on the ground there. And they also were nice enough to send me, just so you guys know, this is sponsored as most of my videos, but they were nice enough to send me one of their, what is this? This is a 12-slot watch box. Very similar to what you find on Amazon. I don't want to, you guys know I'll never give you guys a review of a product and say, oh, this is the nicest watch box I've ever seen. Like, we're just not going to do that. This is a nice watch box, don't get me wrong, but very similar to some of the other watch boxes I've reviewed that you can get all over Amazon in that $20 price range. I will say this is a little bit nicer because some of these other ones, I wish I could show you here. I have the camera on one right now, but those kind of faux leather boxes, a lot of times the top panel actually lifts up and you have to re-glue it. But this one here, it looks like it's all one piece. You're not going to have any of those problems. Definitely, my point, what I'm trying to say here, is that it's nicer than the $20 boxes. But, you know, there's a lot of box options out there. I forget what the price of this is. I'll put a link in the description. But it is very nice. And I always recommend, you know, no matter what you want to spend on a watch case, you know, always get something. I would get one because you're probably not going to get one watch, right? We have the standard kind of lockable dual push button latch on here. Open it up and we have a faux leather interior. I have a bunch of spinnakers in here and the Hartley watch we're going to talk about today. And of course it has this kind of vinyl covering, is sort of like a faux carbon fiber vinyl. You can hopefully see that there. It is a great looking piece, but again, it's not like, I wouldn't say this is like the highest quality watch box, but definitely nicer than you're going to find with those, say, $20 to $30 boxes. So just kind of keep that in mind. So let's talk about the watch today. So this is their Legacy watch. And this is the gold, and they say this is the way they describe this is just Legacy gold with steel bracelet. And we're going to talk about the specifications. So let's check it out. So very cool looking, nice looking dress watch. You know, remember, you know, if you guys have been watching me for a long time and you've seen a lot of my video reviews on watches, I have over 400 watches in my collection, and there are a lot of watches out there that are really over the top, and brands like Nubeo, Invicta, of course, Aragon, they really try to do things that are very unique. This is not an over-the-top unique watch. What I like about it, it's not round, and it's definitely your standard size watch without, you know, we all know once you start getting involved in that larger watch sort of collecting passion, you know, we keep getting bigger and bigger. And a lot of times guys won't go back. My tastes, I won't say have changed when it comes to watch collecting, but I definitely have grown to appreciate the smaller watches as much as the larger watches. There was a point at which I just wanted big, 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 and don't say that I grew up, because I still wear the huge giant Invicta watches, but I just really like to I like having a collection that I can wear whatever the heck I want, and it gives me, I have a huge collection of small watches up to 70mm watches. And so a lot of times though, I do find myself wearing more manageable, smaller watches. They just, I'm not going to say, well, of course they are more comfortable, right? A 70mm Sea Hunter, definitely you feel it on your wrist more, but I don't mean that to say like when I wear it, I'm like, oh God, I gotta take this off, and I start whining about it, you know. But definitely when I'm sitting on the couch, not going out somewhere where I want something really noticeable, you know. And even if, to be honest with you, even sometimes where I'm just gonna go to the grocery store, I may wear a huge Invicta. So it just depends on my mood, and that's the way everybody should, you know, do anything in life. What makes you happy and what you feel like doing. Don't wear things for the approval of others. But again, this is definitely a watch that anybody can wear, big, small, and some guys will disagree. Some guys are like, I'm a big guy, I need a big watch. That's not necessarily true, but it's always about wearing what you like, right? So we'll do some more close-ups here, and I'll show you what it looks like on the wrist. But let's talk about the technical specifications, as they call it. So this has a lot of the check boxes that a lot of folks look for when buying a watch. And you folks know my check boxes that I always talk about are going to be, number one, do you like it? I do like this watch. I like that it has sort of a squarish case. I like the skeletonized face. Of course, the gold, I'm a huge gold fan, but, you know, I like stainless as well. So very nice, clean dress watch without, you know, let's face it, nowadays, anytime we see a round watch, people are like, oh, is it a Rolex homage? And I really, you know, even though I use the term homage a lot, I really don't like it, because homage means to kind of pay tribute to something, right? And let's face it, nobody's paying tribute to Rolex. When companies make homage watches, those are copies. Those are legal copies. They're basically ripping off the design and putting a different name on them and not really doing their own thing. The problem lies is that there's so many round watches on the market, and then people just see a round watch that may not even be a homage watch to a Rolex or a copy. They're like, oh, it's a homage. And that's not really true. I think we need to stop giving Rolex credit for any watch that has a 3-link bracelet and is round, right? So this watch is definitely, I don't think there's anything else out there that this is trying to replicate. But I'm sure there's other brands who have done skeletonized watches that are sort of squarish, right? So again, it's nothing really over the top. It's not like when you look at some of these Aragons, even Bulivas, where they do something that's like, when you look at it, you're like, yep, that's a precisionist. And when you look at it, yep, that's a Sea Hunter. So this is more of a subtle watch, but it's a great looking piece. Number one, do you like it? If you do, let's move on, right? So case size on this, 43mm. So we're getting a little bit larger than your standard 42. 42 is kind of like your standard size watch where it's the safest bet. 43 is giving you a little more of a wrist presence, but not too much. We have 11mm in case thickness. You know, a lot of times the case thickness, I don't even feel like I should mention, but I mention it for you folks watching the video, because really, the only time I really am concerned with case thickness is when we're getting over 20. Because now I'm like, okay, that's kind of a selling point of the watch. Is it a huge 23mm case thickness? It gives you a totally different, I guess, wearing experience. And that may be great for me, and that might not be for you. So I mention that because some folks are like, oh, it's 12. It's gonna be too large. And I'm trying not. I'm sorry, I'm making fun of you. But if that's, if that is too large for you, then that's okay. I'm not trying to tell you what to buy here. If it's too big for you, it's too big. Lug width 20mm. It is a gold plating. No information on the gold plating, but let's face it, gold plating has been around a very long time. And of all the watches I have, I don't have anything, no matter what the price point is, no matter what the brand, anything that's flaking or wearing off. So it's extremely durable. 50 meters or 5 ATMs of water resistance, and we have 152 grams in weight. 40-hour power reserve on it. It is an automatic. I like that they put, hello, Dartmouth. They put the actual movement. Dartmouth, come on, start doing that. That's Dartmouth brand, Spinnaker, all those brands. A lot of times they don't put, I think they do it on Spinnaker, but like Nubeo, I'm constantly harping over some of these brands to just don't put on your website Japanese automatic. People want to know the movement. So this does have a Miyota 21 jewel automatic movement, and we do have that flat sapphire crystal with anti-reflective coating on both sides. And I think they mean on the exhibition case back, I think is what they mean by that. I can't imagine they would put anti-reflective coating on, both sides. I just never heard it described like that, but I'm pretty sure they mean on the case back as well. So again, kind of pointless to have it on the case back. Sapphire is most scratch resistant. Your skin's probably not going to scratch a watch, but I've often said sapphire is just really just kind of it's the most scratch resistant, I get it, but I've never scratched any watches. Flame Fusion, K1, Cristerna, whatever it is, I've never scratched. Even the cheapest $2 watch that I have that's probably a piece of glass, I still haven't scratched anything. So, not to say you cannot scratch a watch, absolutely you can, but I just think people put a little too much emphasis on whether it has sapphire or not. But it is a checkbox. It is important to some. This does have a dual push button deploying clasp with a fold or safety latch. It is a milled clasp, which was nice to see. No difference between a milled clasp and a stamped clasp as far as like wearability, but the milled does look nicer. I'll absolutely agree with that. So I think that's pretty cool. Now as far as the finishing on that, we have mirror polishing around the case. Use camera to focus in here. Mirror polish around the sides. We have a brush finish on the bezel, and we have, obviously you can see, brush finish down the center links and mirror polishing on the sides and side of links. So good looking watch. Price on this here though, we are looking at $519. Now that is a little steep in my opinion because there are so many watches on the market right now that you can get for a fraction of that cost. You can get a Pagani design for $100. You can get some Invictas for $100, sometimes less. So to me, I think this is a little bit of a stretch. And I hate saying that. I always want you guys to make the decision on what you think is worth it. Ultimately, if you see this watch and it really calls to you, know you're getting a quality watch. It has the check boxes that I always talk about. There's not really much companies can do to really make a watch that unique when it comes to quality. Number one, do you like it, right? Putting that aside, let's talk quality features, right? 316 stainless steel. It's really all you need. There's not, if you go with a $100 watch of 316, this is $519, you're still getting the same build quality. The other one here is the crystal. Again, not important to me, but at a price point of $519, absolutely should have sapphire. Automatic movement, Miyota. We have, I'm sorry, which one was it? Doesn't tell you which one. For $519, they really should be specific on which movement is in this watch. I think that you're asking people to sort of just accept that you just threw a Miyota. This might be the cheapest Miyota movement they have. They didn't put the model on it. But Miyota's a fantastic movement, don't get me wrong. But again, there's lots of watches that have Miyota movements that offer these specifications for $100. So just kind of keep that in mind. Gold, gold plating, great. I mean, build quality, fit, finishing. You almost have to be delusional to look at and if you take that as an insult, I'm sorry, but it's the truth. to actually look at a $20,000 Rolex watch and say, oh, the fit and finishing is amazing. Sure, if you probably look at a Rolex and you look at the way the links come together, you probably will see less movement, closer tolerances, but that doesn't mean that this is garbage, right? To me, you have to be delusional to think that that's something that is worth paying for. I mean, there's lots of watches that I have that are, you know, $200, $300 that have amazing tolerances, Invicta being one of them. So I think this has, you know, a little bit of play, but not a big deal. Friction pins for each link. You know, three levels of micro adjustment on this. You know, it has the standard features you're going to find on many, many watches out there, but that $519 price point, I think, is a little bit steep because you're not actually getting a watch that's more of what I would consider like a tool watch. Like if you look at watches by like Phoebos and brands like that, you're getting watches that, you know, really I would trust to really go diving with. This, of course, it has the water resistance, but when we look at the build on this, this has sort of the build of what you'd expect on a dress watch, you know, just the way the case back looks. Again, not knocking this watch at all, but realistically, I think just the way that this watch feels, this to me feels more like a $200 tops watch. Now, that being said, usually companies like this do put the watches on their websites and then turn around and have them go on sale. So I can't, you know, tell you whether they will or won't, but I think it's pretty safe to say that these are going to go on sale. Now, again, I have to be real with you guys. You know, $519. That's why I mentioned that I hate when companies produce a watch and try to sell it for this price point. I just kind of sometimes I have to try to wrap my brain around it because you don't have any reputation, right? Hartley's not like if you have a brand that's, let's say, Gucci, right? I think Gucci watches are absolutely overpriced as well. Fendi, any luxury brand name, Louis Vuitton, but their name has kind of been established with, let's say, making luggage, right? And they've already have sort of like this brand recognition. They can say, well, we're going to make a watch now. And even though the watch is nothing amazing in quality, it's a good watch, right? You can get it from thousands of other brands for far less. Their brand recognition allows them to charge what they want to charge. I also failed to mention this does have a screwed-on crown, so that's good. So, you know, I think that brands like this come out and they think that they're going to just, I don't know, maybe they will sell them, but I just feel like there's no brand recognition at this point for them to sell these for that price point. So I think you will see these go on sale. Maybe at some point, if the brand becomes super popular and people are like, oh, I love Hartley watches, and they start to build their brand and build their brand recognition, maybe they can charge at a later date, but I just don't see them selling many of these for $500 now. Could be wrong, but I gotta be honest and I gotta be real. When we start looking at watches, this wasn't a comparison video. When we look at some of these Spinnaker watches, and a review will be coming, you know, to me, this just, I can't really put my finger on it, but it just feels like a more of a solid watch than this Hartley watch. And you can get these, I mean, when they're not on sale for like $400, $450, which I even think is steep for a Spinnaker watch. But again, they do go on sale all the time. So I think you're going to see Hartley go on sale, but I hope that they do that soon because, you know, people, when they want to buy something, if you see this watch and you're like, oh man, you know, I really like it, I want to add it to my collection. You guys know I'm not the luxury watch reviewer. I'm more the guy who's for the affordable brands, and there's so many out there. And for me, it's hard to rationalize $500 on any watch from any manufacturer. It doesn't matter who it is. Even when I look at like my $2,000 Aquadive, that's not $2,000 and then they go on sale for $500. That watch is always around $1,800. And when I look at the specs, the build quality of that watch, I don't see $2,000. It's as every bit as nice as many of the other watches I have, right? So, I don't know, kind of hard. I think you will, again, see these go on sale, but hopefully the company does that soon. So, or maybe they'll provide a coupon code where you can get it through me, 50% off. That would be more realistic in that $200, $250 price range, I think is what this watch deserves. So, and again, that's, you know, that's not something I'm just kind of picking on Hartley here. I say that with most watches. I would never tell you to go out and spend $500 on this Spinnaker watch. I always tell you, hey, wait and get them on sale. Now, if a brand does come out with something and say, hey, you know what, this is what we charge for it, and they never have the watch go on sale, I have more respect for that. And I don't, even with Dartmouth, I've mentioned many times I don't like the way that they put the watches on sale. I think it cheapens a brand. I don't think companies need to do that. I just feel like a lot of times companies have these watches on their website for a lot of money, and then they go out to like the wholesalers, and then the retailers sell them for half off. And I just wish brands would just say, hey, we charge $300 for our watches. You get a coupon code through Phatkat Collections, 20% off, and maybe when they go on sale for 10% off. But that, I think, is more realistic. I think people really respect those kinds of business practices more. Now, it doesn't mean people don't buy watches. People still buy Invictas. They still buy plenty of Dartmouth brands. But when we look at a brand like Aragon, I think Aragon's done a great job at kind of giving some respect with their brand and their brand recognition. Aragon doesn't put their watches on insane sales. They may have, usually what I find is when they start to get down, and a lot of them are limited editions, so when the stock gets low, I get it. Supply and demand, I'm not talking about supply and demand here. If you have 3 left in stock and that's all you got, make that clear in your site. Be like, 3 left, that's it, they're gone. Charge more for them. That's supply and demand. But when you are creating a watch you probably have thousands in a warehouse, I just think there should be a different type of marketing. So anyway, that's my opinion. Overall, though, great presentation, very nice quality. Nothing wrong with the quality of this watch. I think that they will sell these. Let's face it, pretty much every watch brand sells. I mean, let's be honest. Somebody will see this and say, man, I love it. I love it. I love it. I got to get it. It's got the check boxes. And I'm glad that they didn't just, Hartley could have made this watch with, a quartz movement and still charge. Like, there's brands out there that charge a shit ton for their watches, and they have quartz movements in them, with nothing wrong with quartz, but they're basic, inexpensive quartz movements. No sapphire crystal, no screw down crown, no 3/16 stainless steel, and they played them, and they're like, all right, well, we're going to charge $300 for them. I'm glad they didn't do that. At least they tried to produce a watch, and I think they succeeded. That is unique looking. It looks nice. Kind of reminds me a little bit of a Nautilus kind of styling, but again, it's not a Nautilus homage in my opinion, but similar. And I like that they they gave you good quality materials. They did a nice build. They have that milled clasp. It's like whoever built this definitely said, hey, what are some of the features that people are looking for in a watch? Let's make sure we at least include those check boxes, I like to call them. So without further ado, let's throw on the wrist. Now, I didn't size it yet, so oh well. So I'm just going to slip it on, and you'll see what it looks like on me. I'm 5'8", I weigh 182 pounds, and I have a 7-inch wrist. So 43 millimeter, again, don't get desensitized. They all look great no matter what they are, and it's definitely a watch that I think will definitely get noticed. It's clean, it's classy, and I don't think you can go wrong, but I do hope that they come down in price. I'm not going to sit here and tell you that, man, you got to get it, 500's a deal, because you won't really see me say that about any watch for the most part. I always say, buy what makes you happy. If this watch, you see this video, you say, man, I absolutely love it, I need it. But I do think, though, a lot of times when I say that, it's usually when I'm reviewing a watch that nobody else makes anything like that, right? Like a lot of the Unveiled watches are pretty unique. And same thing with like Invicta. And I always state that if you see it and you're like, oh man, I want it, you're not going to be able to find some of those watches by Unveiled and Invicta and even Aragon that's super unique. Like, for instance, like Bull of a Precisionist. If you want a Bull of a Precisionist, there's nothing else you're going to find that's like extremely similar to that watch, right? You're going to have to go with that. With this, you can definitely find other watches that are similar to this. Again, you can get plenty of DH Gate specials that have that kind of Nautilus look. There's lots of homage companies making watches similar to this. Not as many as like a Submariner, but you get what I'm saying here. I'm always going to keep it real with you and keep it real with the brands that I'm representing. And but overall, it's a nice piece. Now, hopefully they want to collaborate again. And I do think I want to get my hands on, they have a rose gold version with a white strap. And I love that combination. I think it's really fun. These strapped versions are a little bit cheaper. They're in that $480 price range. They do list that they have a 2-year warranty on these. And of course, I will put the link in the description, just kind of generic link to the Legacy line. I don't think they have any other watches. It looks like they do have some women's. Let me see what else they got. Men, looks like just... Oh, they do have a couple other ones. Yeah, they do. It looks like they have a couple quartz watches in that 180 price range. So that's where they're starting to get, I think, into fashion watch territory. Again, watch companies need to be careful not to kind of get the movement and Filippo Loretti kind of, stigma, I think is the right word for that. We don't... people still buy those watches, and I've reviewed them, and I think they're fine watches. But, you want to kind of like, the watch community can be extremely judgmental on brands and very snobbish. So there's always going to be people to buy those watches, absolutely. But I think you want to be realistic with your price points and kind of stay in your lane a lot of times. I don't like when brands say, we're making luxury watches, but you're getting them for, super cheap price. That's not really true. I can kind of relate a little bit by, because I don't think there's really much of a difference in luxury brands, but there is a difference. It's just not here and here. You know what I mean? It's subtle differences. At the end of the day, they're all nice, but I think it's important for brands to kind of stay in their lane. These are, just call them watches, Not that they said anything about luxury, but, I think the price point is kind of like leaning towards... an area they shouldn't really go. So anyway, that's my opinion. Beautiful, beautiful watch though. I want to thank Hartley for the generosity. Love the case, love the watch. I hope to collaborate with them again in the future. Most likely we will. I think a lot of brands do appreciate honesty, but there have been some that don't, and that's life. So thanks for watching, folks. Do subscribe to the channel. Have a fantastic day, and take care.